Hi, I'm Thomas. Welcome back to the course Principles of Management. Today's topic is Foundations of Planning. In considering planning, it's important to be able to answer the question, what is planning? And planning is making assumptions and setting targets regarding future performance at an organization. And the reason managers plan is because if you don't have a plan to go where you want to go, you probably won't get there. So having a plan is an important tool in being able to achieve the organization's objectives. And several concepts relating to planning and entity performance. Planning leads to positive financial results. Again, if you have an objective, you need to set a plan to be able to achieve that objective. Without the plan for how to achieve financial results, an organization probably won't achieve them. Additionally, external factors need to be taken into consideration. External factors can affect the results of an organization, the effectiveness of a plan. Not all external factors can be anticipated in advance, but they're important to keep in mind and take into consideration when developing a plan, and when unexpected external factors arise, it's often necessary to adjust plans. And finally, planning for the long term will lead to long-term better performance. When a company has a short-term plan, that's working towards what we might describe as objectives, whereas a long-term plan is working towards a higher level concept of goals, and therefore having not only short-term plans in place, but long-term plans in place to work towards high-level goals will help to improve performance at the organization. In understanding goals and plans, we can consider different types of each category. Types of goals include stated goals and real goals. Stated goals are what entities or individuals say or write they intend to do. Those don't always align with actions, and the actions are typically the best indicator of what the real goals of an organization are. And regarding planning, types of plans include strategic, which is high-level planning, versus operational, which is more of a day-to-day plan. Operational planning is usually working towards strategic plan goals. Long-term versus intermediate term versus short-term, and these also build up towards the next level. Short-term planning leads to or is a part of intermediate term planning, which leads to or is a part of long-term planning. Specific versus directional plans. Specific plans have more details in a directional plan. Directional plan is a more general idea of where a company wants to go, and maybe the specifics in regards to dollars or people or number of locations or sometimes even time required aren't as clear as they might be in a specific plan. And finally, a single-use plan would be for one project or one objective, whereas a standing plan is a plan that can be used for multiple activities more than one time. And for goals to be effective, they should be based on the SMART criteria: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. As examples, a specific goal, instead of stating the goal is to open in 3 new locations, as examples, a specific goal would be, instead of setting a goal of opening in 3 locations, setting a goal of opening in 3 named cities or countries or regions. Measurable, instead of stating a goal is to increase revenue, state that the goal is to increase revenue by a specific percentage. Achievable, instead of setting unrealistic goals, think about what is required to be able to realize a goal. And it shouldn't be easy, it should be challenging, but it should also be something that is possible. Relevant means that the goals an organization sets should be meaningful in light of their mission, in light of their values, in light of their vision. And finally, timely. A goal should have a deadline. That could be a month, that could be a year, that could be 5 or 10 years into the future. But if there's no deadline, then there's no accountability regarding the ultimate achievement of the goal. Approaches to planning will vary from one organization to another. Formal planning is usually based on documented procedures involving the same levels of the organization, the same procedures, and usually happening at the same time of the year, one year after another, whereas informal planning isn't necessarily based on a consistent process. It might be an undocumented process. Maybe there's documentation, but it isn't always followed. Maybe the people who are involved in planning from one year to another change, and maybe the planning doesn't always happen at the same time of the year. Top-down planning is when general guidelines are given from the senior levels of the organization down to the middle and lower levels of the organization, whereas bottom-up planning is when detailed plans are put together at the lower and middle levels of the organization and then passed up to combine into an overall entity plan. A good example of top-down versus bottom-up planning is the annual budget. Some organizations start with general budget allocations that are delivered down to divisions and individuals, whereas other organizations work from the bottom, from the detailed level, to build up to an overall organization budget. And finally, contemporary issues in planning include planning in dynamic environments. Due to technology and globalization, the business environment is continually changing and more rapidly, so it's important for an organization to keep the concept of dynamic environments in mind when planning. And environmental scanning means that an organization takes an active approach to looking for changes in the environment, external factors that might impact their planning and require adjustments to the plan that the company has developed. This concludes the lecture, Foundations of Planning. Be sure to be in class for our case study activity, which will give you an opportunity to apply these concepts in a real-world environment. I look forward to seeing you then.